OTC Foodies. It's Terry. All right, so here's our video for the week. Now, if you know me, and if I've mentioned this before in other videos, I hate wasting food. We waste too much food in this country, and I have to say, I am guilty of that. So I like to try to utilize as many of the items in my refrigerator as I can in different ways. And today I want to kind of focus on the kids. I do a lot of videos that are really, for us, but kids will eat it too. But this is some breakfast items, lunch items that you can make for your kids that hopefully they'll enjoy. And we're going to use simple everyday items. All right, so I'm going to take the crescent roll dough sheets here and transform them into some really yummy, tasty apple cinnamon rolls and some ham cheese rolls. And like I said, those would be great for breakfast or for lunch. So you can serve them warm or you can serve them cold. And now I have the apples. They look a little rough. They're from last week's when we did the apple tart, but they're still good. We're going to cook them down so they're not even going to be noticeable, but I hate to throw them out because I just had too many left over. So I'm going to start chopping these up. Now they have been peeled, and we're going to cook them down with some butter and brown sugar for a little bit. We want them a little soft, but we don't want them too soft because we want them to hold a little bit of their shape. We're not going to add really a whole lot of liquid or anything in our apples because we don't want it to get too soggy in our dough. I'm going to take some of these pieces here and throw them away. Now really the browning is just the oxidation on that. It's just, they're not bad, they're not mushy or anything like that. It's just because they have been peeled and there was no lemon juice applied to them. So it's just the oxidation on it. Now, if your kids don't like eating vegetables or fruits, this is a nice little way of kind of sneaking in a fruit here. Like I said, it's just apples. And when we put it in something good and yummy, a little sweet, kids tend to eat it. I will tell you a little trick that I did on my kids when they were young. And I know they're not watching this video, so I can tell you this. But I had a whole bunch of like squash, zucchini squash and yellow squash that was not bad, but it was looking a little less than appealing. And my kids are notorious for not eating their vegetables. They would eat like the raw carrot or occasional celery, but nothing else really unless it was fried or covered with a whole bunch of sauce, which is typically what we do to get kids to eat. So I took the zucchini squash and the yellow squash and cooked them down till they were really soft, and then pureed them and put them in the spaghetti sauce, and served them with the spaghetti. My kids had no idea they were eating vegetables, got away with it. So that's a sneaky little way that we can, as adults, kind of sneak vegetables in for our kids. Okay, so there is our apple, and like I said, these are just chopped, and we're going to put in, here's my brown sugar. We're going to put in some brown sugar, and we want a little bit of butter. Let me get my spatula here. We don't want too much in there because we do want these a little firm, so we don't want to get, and then some cinnamon right here, and that's going to be about 2 teaspoons full right there, and then some nutmeg. Now I take the lids off because it just takes too long to kind of shake all that stuff out, so that's why the lids come off. All right, so we're going over to the stove to cook these. So I'm just going to give these a stir. Meanwhile, I've heated my oven up to 375 degrees. Now we're going to get these started, and then I'm going to turn them down, and then we're going to get our dough ready for our cinnamon rolls here, our apple cinnamon rolls. And we just really kind of want that brown sugar to melt on them a little bit, and we've got some butter in there. So this is coming along nicely. We will start a little bit longer. Put just a tiny bit of water in there just to give them a little bit of moisture since they are a little too dry. And that was maybe 1/4 of a cup. It really was not much. Apples have pectin in it, which does cause them to firm up or set when they are cooked. It's not going to do a whole lot of that though, because we're not going to cook them down too much. So we've got a nice little sauce going there, not a whole lot, and we are going to cook these apples down for a few minutes. All right, so I'm gonna let these simmer for a few minutes. Put this over here. Now let's go over to the workstation here. All right, so we're going to move this to the side here. And I'm going to wet my counter. And I'll show you why. Parchment paper. This is very valuable here in the kitchen. Not wax paper, we've had this discussion, but parchment paper. So it's great to bake with. And if I do it right, let's see, I can get my parchment to stick with a little bit of moisture on the counter. And it's not going to do that for me today. I figure I got you on camera and video and it's not going to work. There we go. All right. So next I'm going to take my crescent roll dough and I'm going to take a little bit of flour and sprinkle it on my paper here just to keep this from sticking. And you're going to roll this out. Now, this is not cut. Now, you do have the crescent roll dough that is cut to roll into the crescents, you know, the nice little dinner rolls that everybody fights over at Thanksgiving. This is just a regular sheet here. No perforations or anything. And I'm just going to give it a nice little roll here just to kind of square it out a little bit. Okay, good. Now let me stir my apples. Okay. All right, next I'm going to take my butter, which I've softened, and I'm going to spread some on my crescent roll dough here. Probably need to be a little bit softer. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. I've also done something similar to this, but I've taken peanut butter and jelly and made peanut butter and jelly roll-ups. I was making cinnamon rolls using the shortcut method like this and ran out of brown sugar, and I had crescent roll dough, and I thought, well, why not? Let's do peanut butter and jelly. So that's what I did. I did some peanut butter and jelly roll-ups, and the kids actually liked them a lot. All right, so we're going to sprinkle some brown sugar on here. the apples are going to have some sweetness, so we're not going to put a whole lot on here. And I'm going to actually leave the lid on this time and sprinkle some cinnamon. Now, if your kids like raisins, there's some raisins on here too, because that would really be good. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's get our apples off. So you can see how this has formed a really nice caramelized gooey syrup on it, right there. So I'm actually going to try to save some of that and just scoop the apples out, because we'll use that syrup to kind of throw over the top. And I wish you could smell this, because it smells like fall right now in this kitchen with all the brown sugar, cinnamon. It smells amazing. Now, the last video I did, I made a comment in there about good eats, and I got a text from my father saying, you might want to be careful about that, because that has been trademarked by a certain chef. He was totally right. So hopefully I can find a new catchphrase with somebody's help out there. So if you can think of a catchphrase that I can use in the kitchen that's not trademarked by anybody, send me a message and let me know, because I'm always looking for little fun sayings, and I don't want to use anybody else's trademark. All right, so there is our apple cinnamon right there. Looks amazing. All right, so now we're gonna roll it up. And this is really gonna be messy. It's okay if it comes out of the sides here, because we're just going to stuff it back in and then throw everything in a pan after we slice it. So messes are allowed in kitchens, by the way. All right. Okay, so now I have my handy dandy disposable aluminum pan. They're great if you don't want to clean up a lot and to dispose of those items later, so you don't have to wash. It's also great if you want to take some over to a neighbor. So I sprayed that, and now I'm going to slice my cinnamon rolls, my apple rolls. Now they look like a hot mess now, but they're going to be much better once they're cooked. Maybe like dumplings almost. hot mess for the apples right now. We're gonna put that to the side. All right, so that's getting picked up. Let's see, we have cleaned up the kitchen efficiently. And now we've got our ham and cheese roll up. All right, so flour. Our crescent roll. There you go. These are good to make on a Sunday, so that way you've got them throughout the week. All right, next I'm taking my spreader and I'm gonna add some Dijon mustard. You want a little something in there for the ham, flavor it. Now if you don't like Dijon mustard, you could use yellow mustard as well. And this one's super easy and super quick. All right, so that. Next I'm taking my ham. And I'm gonna start layering it. Now this is a great way to use up some deli meat. I don't know what your household is like, but mine typically has the last like few slices that kind of get left by the wayside in the refrigerator. And this is a perfect way of using that. Okay, next I've got some cheese here. And we're rolling again. Not quite as messy as the apples. Right, take my pan. And here we go. And then we got a little bit here. I'm gonna throw a little cheese in him because he's just a little scrawny. There we go. Okay. So there is our ham and cheese crescent roll-ups, and we've got our apples. So we're gonna put this in the oven real quick. Well, not real quick. It's gonna take about 15 minutes at 375. All right, so we're gonna bake them till golden brown, and then we'll have a little topping for them both. So stay tuned. Check back in about 10-15 minutes. Okay, we're back. Well, let me just say, after about 15 minutes, I checked on our sweet rolls and they were still gooey in the center. So it's taken about 35, 40 minutes. And that's what you really want to look at, is how does the center look? Is the dough still very gooey? So it's been about 35, 40 minutes, and put some extra cheese on top of our ham and cheese roll-ups. And then, oh, even Harley wants some too. And then these are the apple cinnamon roll-ups. See, they look like a hot mess before, but don't they look amazing now? And I'm not gonna put any frosting on it because these are really sweet enough as it is. You've got the apples and that nice brown sugar cinnamon glaze that we created when we were cooking the apples. And I took what was left over and I spooned it over towards the end of our baking. So these are all really you need to do to this. Just let them cool off and enjoy them. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Our next video, or my next video, is going to be a meal-in-one. It's a spatchcock chicken that I'm going to be cooking over some green beans and some roasted potatoes. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I know it was like a hot mess in the kitchen, but that's okay. We cleaned it up. Everything worked out really nice. And we have some really great items here that the kids are going to love, as well as you. So thanks for eating with me today, and I will see you soon. Ciao.